Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Thank you. Sport on an empty stomach, benefits and dangers, what you need to know running on an empty stomach. Doing cardio on an empty stomach would burn fat more effectively, but beware of health risks. On an empty stomach, our body, in the absence of sugars immediately available in the blood, is much more willing to consume fats. An interesting phenomenon a priori to more easily lose a few extra pounds. This recognized practice is not, however, without risks. Practicing sport on an empty stomach requires a few warnings and precautions to avoid boredom. Explanations and advice. More fat burned on an empty stomach. Fuel for muscles. Our muscles use carbohydrates for fuel to function. This energy comes mainly from sugars from food and supplied by the blood after a meal. Glycogen stores available in muscles and liver. Degradation of fatty acids or lipids, in other words fats. This process is slow and alone is not enough to provide intense effort. The lower the intensity of the effort, the higher the percentage of fat consumed. See our article on how to effectively burn excess fat. Lipid degradation increases markedly after a few minutes of activity. After a meal, a large part of the energy supplied to the muscles comes from carbohydrates produced by digestion and carried by the blood. This energy supply replaces the glycogen reserves and also significantly slows down the process of lipid degradation. This is where the interest of sport on an empty stomach comes in. After a night's sleep, the liver's reserves, used to maintain a constant blood sugar level and to supply energy to our organs, including the brain, are weakened. The practice of a physical activity in these conditions causes the body to draw more on fats, in particular to maintain the blood sugar level. We will consume as much energy in the end, but the amount of fat burned will be greater in proportion. This theory is confirmed by several studies, including one conducted at Kansas State University in 1995 on young and physically fit individuals. The study concludes that, for the same activity, fat is burned more quickly by exercising in the morning on an empty stomach than after a meal, even if the same amount of energy is expended in both cases. The percentage of fat burned is indeed higher on an empty stomach, reaching 67% against only 50% after eating. Source: Wilcox, Harvard and Weddell Medicine in Science and Sports and Exercise, 17. 2, 1985. Benefits of training on an empty stomach. A priori, training on an empty stomach has two main advantages. By optimizing the process of fat degradation, lipolysis, it makes it possible to lose weight more easily, an asset both for health and aesthetics, but also for improving performance. It accustoms and trains the body to be more efficient in the mobilization of fats, either transformation into energy usable by the muscle. This point is particularly interesting in long-term endurance sports, such as cycling or the marathon, which deplete glycogen reserves in a few hours. If the value of training on an empty stomach is scientifically proven, it can be dangerous. It is important to understand the mechanisms involved and to respect certain rules to fully and safely benefit from this practice. Warnings. Training on an empty stomach is strongly discouraged for people who do not regularly practice endurance sport or resume an activity after a prolonged stoppage, as well as people with poor health. In any case, you should seek the advice of your doctor.